You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay, everybody, how's everybody doing? Well, I have a treat in store for you today. Amanda Knox telling on herself, saying some very interesting things indeed. And this is from a speech to a Texas Tech University law students. And she does these speeches, Amanda Knox, at $10,000 a pop. And you can see her media training, and you can also see why those who were in prison with her called her the actress, because she is really comfortable telling this story. You can see that she's told it like a zillion times before, and it's somewhat close to the email, but there's some differences, and we'll go through it. But it's very interesting what she has to say, and she makes a few mistakes in this. But before we do, let's just take a quick break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat, and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. So here she is giving her speech, and there's some very interesting things that come up in it. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm just about to talk about the worst thing that ever happened to me. My roommate was murdered. Look how, once again, Amanda Knox is off tone, but okay.
Just so I can get a sense of what I'm dealing with here, who has heard about this case? Okay, all right. Who has seen the Netflix documentary about this case? All right, cool. That actually makes things a lot easier for me.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for me. You've all been propagandized. So makes it a lot easier for me. All right, here we go.
So I don't have to explain to you all of the nitty-gritty of DNA evidence or anything like that. I can talk to you more about what you're going to be dealing with your future clients, what it's like to be at the center of one of these stories and scandals that not only take over the lives of the people involved, but kind of in a way, for some weird reason, take over the world. To take you back.
Okay, so I found that very interesting. She says her scandal not only took over the lives. Well, your scandal ended Meredith Kercher's life. Okay. And the prosecutor argued that you were the one who inflicted the fatal blow, but there you go. But then she says, my scandal has a way, and this is me paraphrasing, of taking over the world. So you can see her psychopathic megalomania in that. My scandal, not that it was known all over the world. It took over the world. It was a conquest. And in a way, when you hire a PR firm like her father did for $1 million, her side of the story will take over, if not Europe, but at least America, which was incredibly propagandized and continues to be propagandized to this day. But keep that in mind, because it's a point that she'll touch back on a little bit later.
To how it all began in 2007. So, you know, before smartphones, when Facebook was still cool. I was 20 years old, and I was.
It's interesting. I don't know what. I guess she's trying to. I mean, I guess an Amanda Knox supporter would say that she's putting this scandal, as she puts it, in context. But the first smartphone came out in the summer of 2007. So before that, it was around. I get it. Maybe not everybody had it. But a better way to say it was, she doesn't bring up MySpace, because so much the Foxy Knoxy moniker came from MySpace. So much of the pictures the press used came from MySpace. Her very disturbing story, Baby Brother, it's a fiction story she wrote about an older brother talking to a younger brother about SA, and it goes into extreme detail, the violence of it. That freaked everybody out. That was on her MySpace. So I guess she'll mention Facebook, but don't mention MySpace, because that was not so good for her PR image.
Was at school, like all of you guys. I was studying languages and poetry, so I was not dealing with like really hardcore stuff like you.
She may have been studying languages and poetry at University of Washington, but she was taking one unaccredited course for University of Washington in Perugia. So she didn't have a course load like these law students did at all. She was there to hang out, have a good time, and learn the Italian language. There's nothing wrong with that if you're not killing somebody. But I mention it because it naturally brings up a conflict with Meredith, who's the other English-speaking person. Everybody in the house, actually. So you have Laura, Philomena, who are two law students, but then you have the two English speakers, Meredith and Amanda. Amanda's taking a very light course load, one language class, and that's not even accredited. She doesn't even have to really it doesn't even matter so much if she passes it or not. She's got to learn Italian while she's there. And that was one of the things that really bothered Meredith's friends, was that Amanda Knox wanted to speak Italian. I totally understand that. She wanted to really learn the language, but they were annoyed because it was their time to speak English, all of them together, right? But you can see how Meredith taking a very heavy course load. She was a really accomplished, disciplined student, and Amanda, who's there to have fun, how already that creates tension, and how already Amanda playing guitar, doing drugs, coming in late, bringing in boys is going to be annoying to Meredith. But really, what really did it was her not cleaning, not flushing the toilet, not cleaning herself, not cleaning the apartment. And that's what makes that uncharacteristic cleaning after Meredith Kircher's murder so odd for Amanda. There she is with a mop when the plainclothes policemen come. What's she doing with that mop? She says she was going to leave Raf's, go back to Raf's apartment and clean up a big puddle of water. Now, this is about as high as I can get this volume. I'll try to up it a little bit. People are complaining it's too low, but it is going to be lower than my voice. I'm afraid that's just the natural quality of the original video. I'm sorry, but I hope you can hear it.
Guys were. I was like, yo, and stuff like that. That was my world. And I recall like one of my classes was trying to figure out how to say the word in Italian for squirrel, which, does anyone know what it is? It's scoiattolo. It was a very weird word at the time for me to say. And I decided, because I'd always wanted to do this, to study abroad, my third year of college. I planned it all out. I actually had applied to 2 different countries. I was like, maybe I can go to Germany, or maybe I can go to Italy. And it came into my house, the front door was...
Yeah, she did stop by Germany before Perugia. She had an internship with her uncle's law firm that she just blew off, that she just walked out of, didn't tell anyone. Her uncle went through the trouble of getting her this internship and she just walked off. So commitment to other people, then that would just be this kind of being inconsiderate would be a pattern with Amanda Knox, and self-centered and non-empathetic would be, I would put in all that category of just walking away from that internship. If she didn't want to do it, fine, but just let somebody know. Don't just like walk out one day and not come back.
Open, which I thought was odd, but also the front door lock didn't quite work, so maybe someone didn't lock it all the way and the wind blew it open, I thought. And then
she also says in her letter home that she thought it could be the wind, it could be that some of the girls went and talked to the neighbors downstairs, or it could be someone just went and left the door open taking out the trash. But once you see the blood in the bathroom and Raph's footprint on the bath mat in the bathroom, I mean, we know now it's Raph's footprint, but say, let's put ourselves in Amanda's mind frame. You see a man's footprint in blood on the bath mat and you just want to get naked and vulnerable and not think much of it. And she continues that where she's not really worried. But of course, in the email home, she's really worried and she's like, gets frantic and starts, by the end, she's like banging on the door. Oh, thank you very much, Tommy DV, for this $3 super sticker. I really appreciate it. Okay, back to Amanda. She's up. She's talking about how she's seen her apartment, the state she's seen her apartment.
And I looked around, everything looked normal. I got changed, I took a shower, and I found blood.
Everything looked normal. Everything looked normal except for the blood spattered around the bathroom and that big man's footprint on the bath mat and the door open. Everything looked normal. Mm-hmm. Who would say that? It's crazy.
In the sink in my bathroom, and I thought, that's weird. It's a little bit of blood. Am I bleeding? I just got my ears pierced. Am I bleeding? No. Where'd that come from? I don't know. It must be nothing. It's just a few drops of blood. Take a shower, do my thing, change, blow dry my hair, and that's when I noticed that there was poop left in the toilet.
And what concerned everybody was she was more concerned with that poop in the toilet than she was with Meredith's whereabouts. And she presented that poop to the police like it was a great prize. She couldn't wait to show them. That was the impression of everyone who was around the scene where Meredith's body was discovered. But once again, Amanda's the most unlucky person in the world, and everyone just misconstrues her actions. She's Amelie, and people don't get it.
In the second bathroom in the cottage. And that, to me, struck me as very odd, because my 2 Italian roommates, whose bathroom this was, they were meticulous cleaners. They would not have left something like that in their bathroom.
So now it's not Meredith who's the meticulous cleaner. Everyone in the, it's Meredith's been written out because that wouldn't make sense for Meredith, right? Who's this neat freak with the blood in the bathroom? Who left this blood? Not Meredith, the neat freak. But now it's Philomena and Laura. They could have been neat freaks. They all had chores. Amanda didn't do hers. She ignored her portion of chores on the chore wheel, and it annoyed everybody, as it would.
And I immediately got chills. I immediately thought that someone was in the house with me, and I immediately left. I went back to...
Now there's someone from inside the house, everybody. This is a new addition to the Amanda Knox's story. She immediately knew someone was in the house. She had to go to the safety of Raf's. But did she run to Raf's and bring him back right away? Oh, no, they had to have an hour-long breakfast beforehand. And did she remember to bring the mop back to Raf's? No. They both have to go get the mop because she needs supervision getting that mop to bring back to Raf's, right? It's absolutely absurd and insane.
Raphael's apartment. I explained to him what I had seen, and he said, you should get in touch with your roommates. Maybe they know what's going on. And so I called them. I called Laura, no answer. I called Meredith.
She calls Laura, no answer. And I may do an entire episode on those phone calls and the observations of Meredith's other roommates, Philomena and Laura, and some of Meredith's friends. It's very interesting. The whole, I was very confused as to why Philomena's phone would be returned, but Meredith had borrowed Philomena's phone to make local calls. So it's often been described as Meredith's phone being delivered by the postal police. So in a way it was Meredith's phone, but it was registered to Philomena. So that mystery got cleared up today.
No answer. I called Philomena. Finally, someone answers. She tells me to go back home and double check that nothing bad had happened. She hadn't been home that night. Laura hadn't been home that night. It must have only been Meredith, but no one knew where Meredith was. So I go home with Raphael. I don't know how to call the cops or anything like this at the time.
Wait. So now Amanda Knox does not know how to call the emergency number in the country she's in. Wouldn't that be one of the first things you learned? She already has German relatives. She spent time in Germany. She doesn't know the number to call. And if not, wouldn't you go get Raph, run over, not take an hour-long breakfast, leisurely breakfast, and stroll on back to the house? Wouldn't you run back with him? I don't know how to call 911. What's going on? Couldn't she have, I don't know, dipped her head out, I don't know, somewhere, ask someone? It just seems unlikely. And it reminds me of Purvis Payne, who said he didn't know how, he wanted to call for help of Charisse Christopher and Lacey Christopher, who were murdered, but he didn't know the number. I mean, this is one of those things that's just impossible to believe. Really impossible to believe, but the law students are primed from it. They've seen the Amanda Knox documentary. They're ready to buy it all. I wondered if there was a question and answer period. This is just like a 10-minute section of this video that True Crime Rocket Science that channel was wise enough to put up, because I haven't seen this speech anywhere else. But boy, is it a interesting admission on her part. She didn't know how to dial emergency contact numbers.
Come home and I take a better look around. And opening the door into the bedroom of Laura, I notice that everything's fine, everything's perfect, bedspread perfectly neat. I go into the bedroom with Philomena, and it is a wreck. The entire place is strewn, everything is everywhere. There's glass, there's a window broken, but at the same time, there's her laptop right on the counter, and it seems like everything's there in Laura's room.
See, right, what she's doing there is she's making up an excuse for why Raph told the police and she told the police that nothing was missing. They both had jewelry. How would she know what was missing? Well, I saw the computer there and I assumed nothing was missing, which was correct. How did she know? So right now she's saying, well, I knew because it was obvious. The computer was there. So it was obvious nothing was missing. But if you've seen pictures of that room, let me see if I still have it. I might not. I've been showing so much stuff that I've had to remove things. But let me see if I've kept Philomena's picture of Philomena's room. Yes, I have. Okay, let me see if I can show it over it. Okay, so that's just some of it. But if you saw that room all in disarray like that, and the stage break-in room, would you assume nothing is missing?
Was fine, and my room was fine, and the TV is still in the living room, so what's going on? And I finally go and try to look in Meredith's room. Meredith's room would not open. I knocked, I called, and no one answered. So I asked Raffaele to try to kick the door down. He tried, he wasn't able to kick it down, it was locked. So he called the...
But Philomena's boyfriend was able to knock it right down. Kind of interesting. You know, there's many people who feel Amanda Knox really tried to delay the discovery of Meredith's body, and that might be something I'll go over in another video. But it's very interesting to note that the only thing that was missing was Meredith's rent money, and there's testimony of, I can't remember if it's Philomena or Laura, saying that Amanda Knox was in the house and could have easily overheard Meredith talk about how she had the money in cash. And it was either Philomena or Laura who collected it and said, don't worry, just hold on to it. And so many people believe it was in the top desk drawer and it was stolen by Amanda because it was 250 euros. And when Amanda was found, it's been reported 200 to 215 euros she had on her. So minus some lingerie and maybe some pizza, that's, about right. And Amanda had taken out her rent money a long time before this. So you could argue maybe that she had gone into her rent money, but it's interesting that she had that amount of cash on her when she was arrested.
Cops. And to make a long story short, I guess, there's been a lot of talk about this case over the past, it's over 10 years now. This case made international headlines for over 10 years. And it wasn't just...
And there's intercepts with herself and her Aunt Dolly where she's delighting in being in the papers, making the papers, and so is her Aunt Dolly. Oh, which paper? Where? What do I look like? She was thrilled. She's always sought out the limelight, even to this day, and still does. And even claims that she would be famous on her own without Meredith and her murder. It's outrageous.
Every once in a while kind of headline. There was periods of time where it was every single day. For all of that media attention, all of that scrutiny, what I find interesting about this case is that very few people know what actually happened.
Did you hear that? Very few people know what actually happened. Okay, so if this were Rudy Goudet did it alone, one person would know what happened, correct? If this were a group crime, very few, like 3, like herself, Raph, and Rudy. She messed up. She messed up big time there. And if she's saying very few people know Rudy Gude did this alone, that is not true. She had a PR agency spread the Rudy did it alone and goes around telling everyone she was cleared and exonerated, and the final court decided it was one guy who did it. No, that's not what the Italian Supreme Court says. Supreme Court says Amanda was there at the scene of the crime. She washed Meredith Kircher's blood off her hands. It was a crime. Rudy Gude had 2 accomplices. Doesn't take much to figure out who that was. And the break-in room was staged. All bad things for her. But if she's saying that very few people know this story, she's claiming there's another story. Because she can't be talking about the story of Rudy did it alone. Because, like she said, that was international headlines over 10 years. And she had one of Seattle's best PR firms out there propagandizing her side of the story.
Who actually did it? And that's because the story of the murder of Meredith Kircher has not been widely shared.
The story of, okay, so you just said it makes international headlines. It conquered the world, but it has not. The story of Meredith Kircher's murder hasn't been widely shared. So it sounds like she's talking about what really happened. And she's right. We don't know. We don't know the mechanics of it. We can trust the forensics of where it started. And certainly tomorrow's episode is all going to be about Psychic Amanda and what she knew before anybody else about Meredith's murder. She knew quite a bit. And that alarmed Meredith Kircher's friends, freaked them out.
At the same time that I was living my life in Perugia and having a good time, another story was unfolding in the shadows. And that was that a young man who grew up in Perugia in a foster family had recently been kicked out for having stolen from his foster family. And he was...
I know I've said this before. I have a foster brother. So I don't know if she's making it seem like all foster people are troubled, but he was stealing from his foster. He was on a downward spiral. Boy, you were on a downward spiral. People called you a loose cannon about to explode, out of control. You had thrown a party that was so out of control. The police came. You had to go to court. You had a record from that, throwing this wild party where people were so drunk and out of control they were throwing rocks at cars. Raph had a criminal record from being picked up with drugs. I mean, they have to make Rudy Gude the biggest criminal ever. Because what would they be doing hanging out with him? He's so terrible. But he was the only one who had no record at the time of Meredith Kircher's murder and was only charged with things after it.
Was a bit on a downward spiral. He was breaking and entering. He was that we all make at some point in our lives, which is that we make a rash gut decision or judgment about someone, and we pursue that gut judgment regardless of what facts are presented to us.
So the police just made a rash judgment after Raph removed my alibi. My memory gets really hazy. I falsely accuse my boss, Patrick Lumumba, of this murder. I let him sit in prison for 2 weeks. It's just, they just had tunnel vision. This is just Innocence Fraud 101. Tunnel vision investigation. I mean, I should really make t-shirts with all these sayings, right? Tunnel vision investigation, all white jury, police had to close the case, false confession. This is just one of their tropes, and she's ready to spit them all out. You know, she supported Keyth Raniere. She supported Brendan Dassey, one of Teresa Hallback's killers. I mean, she has no problem going all in for anybody who even has a claim of a wrongful conviction. She's there. As long as the payment is right, in my opinion, she's there to ready to promote what I would consider a innocence fraud campaign. She's down for it.
That's really the easiest way to explain what happened in my case. The police had an extremely horrendous, gruesome murder on their hands. And the international media immediately descended upon this town, this very small town, with very limited resources, demanding...
So wait, did you see see where she's putting that in? It was a very small town with very limited resources. They just could not do a good investigation. They just were not up to date with their forensic skills. Therefore, all the forensics that implicated Rudy Gude were right on target, but everything that had to do with myself or Raph, like the mixed blood in the bathroom of Meredith Kircher and myself. By the way, Amanda Knox is the only one whose blood was found mixed with Meredith Kircher's blood. And in multiple parts of the apartment, in Philomena's room, the hallway, and in multiple places in the bathroom. On the box for the cotton balls, in the bidet, a big glob of her blood was on the tap, just hers alone, hallway, and Philomena's room. But that they were just too small a town to collect evidence correctly, guys. You guys don't understand. They didn't know how to do it. Had they known how to do it, they wouldn't have messed up just Raph's and Amanda's DNA. They just would have seen it all as Rudy Gude's DNA. Footprints, like they tried to sell Raph's footprint in Meredith Kircher's blood on the bath mat as Rudy Gude's footprint. If they hadn't been so small and small-minded.
Answers. So within 5 days, they can go out to the media and say, case closed, we got the murderer, everything's okay, aren't we fabulous?
Oh, there it is again, another trope. Another cliche of the wrongful conviction movement. The cops were under pressure to solve the case. That's why, Amanda, you were only arrested after you falsely accused your boss and put yourself at the scene of the murder. Are you saying that if they weren't so small, this police force, that they wouldn't have done it? That a better police force would have seen that it was a false accusation right away? And if they were so small and inadequate and inept, how did they track down Rudy Gude by the 20th? Oh, whoops. Oh, darn it. Okay. Let me see if I can get back to my place. I just lost it again. Here, let's say.
And that's because the story of the murderer of Meredith Kircher has
Okay, go forward a little bit. We're almost at the end here. Sorry, guys.
Make at some point in our lives, which is that we make a rash gut decision or judgment about someone, and we pursue that gut judgment regardless of what facts are presented to us. That's really the easiest way to explain what happened in my case. The police had an extremely horrendous, gruesome murder on their hands. And the international media immediately descended upon this town, this very small town, with very limited resources, demanding answers. So within 5 days, they can go out to the media and say, case closed, we got the murderer, everything's okay, aren't we fabulous? But then when the actual evidence came back, when the forensic evidence came back, when the fingerprints had been examined, when the DNA had been examined, when Meredith's body had gone through autopsy, their theory of the case did not add up. Because...
Oh, it added up all right. You got convicted. Yeah. when all the DNA was looked at and not thrown out, you got convicted. I love how she says, oh, it just, when they finally sorted through all the DNA. No, you only got, your conviction only got overturned on a technicality under 530 under 530 paragraph 2, which is like not enough evidence. That's the Supreme Court or the Court of Cassation. That's what we're talking about. Said not enough evidence. They threw it out, which they're not supposed to do, but okay. And that had nothing to do with the pressure, right? That's what Amanda Knox would tell you. It has nothing to do with the pressure of American politicians, of a $1 million PR campaign that really took hold in America by Gregory Marriott, or Solecito's family. Godfather-like family. That had nothing to do with it. Everything was A-okay. And it was just that she was cleared on the evidence. Now, what they do is just sort of pick apart the evidence and say, oh, Italy only knew how to collect luminol, only knew what luminol was, and it was really root vegetables for Amanda. But for Raph, it was right on. For Rudy, it was right on. Raph and Amanda, they can't read luminol. They don't know what DNA is. Amanda Knox, DNA on the handle of the knife. Meredith Kircher's DNA on the tip. Look, we can't repeat it. There's not enough left. It's been cleaned. Throw it out. You just got lucky, Amanda, from all those circumstances. But I love how she presents it like it's some great, they just got rational. They just got rational and stopped all their preconceived notions and looked at the evidence. No, we've looked at the evidence, and it's not looking good for you, Amanda.
Here was a crime scene where clearly Meredith had fought for her life and had been brutally assaulted before she had been stabbed. Here was all of this DNA all over the crime scene, and none of it pointed to me.
None of the DNA pointed to you. No, except the DNA, your DNA on the handle of the knife, Meredith Kircher's on the tip, your DNA in the form of blood in Philomena's room mixed with Meredith Kircher's blood in Philomena's room. So it's DNA that lights up under luminol. Amanda Knox fans will tell you that she rubbed root vegetables on her feet. It was bleach. It was horseradish. But blood lights up very brightly under luminol. And for Rudy Goudet, they could get it right away, but not Amanda. So her, they don't understand how to read it. She's the only one with the blood there. But everything else, everybody else's DNA is absolutely correct. But Amanda Knox, she's walking around with root vegetables on her feet. She lives there. You've heard that one? She lives there. It's so absurd. I mean, read Dr. Stefani's report about how she could tell exactly how the knife was cleaned in the sink and exactly where it was put and placed. These aren't like Keystone cops. These are very accomplished people. You can argue with them. Of course, defense experts are going to be paid to get it tossed out. And boy, did they.
None of it pointed to Raffaele, my partner, and all of it pointed to someone who was not even.
So none of it pointed to Raf except Raf's DNA on Meredith Kircher's bra clasp, Raf's DNA in the form of Meredith Kircher's blood on the bath mat. And then there's his footprints in the hallway that were wiped away, cleaned up. There was no, you know where there was no DNA? in Amanda Knox's room. There was no actual DNA found of Amanda Knox in Amanda Knox's room. So is it a conspiracy? Did she really live there? Also, no DNA of Amanda Knox in the kitchen in the house. So did she live there? I mean, Amanda Knox supporters love to say, well, how could she clean the scene? She left no traces of herself in Meredith Kircher's room. But there's her lamp sitting right there. It was her only light source. And there was blood found under Meredith Kircher's bed, and her earring had clearly been ripped out. Makes you think that she was using her lamp to fish out her earring that had been ripped out from her ear. Ditto, yesterday we went over the scratch on her neck. But if you're an Amanda Knox supporter, you'll see that as a hickey. Because it was taken so many days after Meredith Kircher's murder on the 1st. I believe it was taken on the 5th or the 6th. Something like that. 5-6 days after. So it had faded quite a bit. But the people who were around it and were up close to that scratch say that was a scratch. That was no hickey.
On the police's radar, this guy named Rudy Gaudet, who in the meantime had fled the country to Germany. But instead of, probably said, you deserve this, you fucking pure girl, like, he's in the courtroom, like, putting words in my mouth as if I'm, like, pure shaming her. I'm thinking, this is crazy. Come on. Everyone sees through this, right? This is all gonna work out fine. And indeed, sure, it wasn't working out all fine because there's a battleground of storytelling. And it wasn't, the story that won was not the most truthful story. It was the most compelling story. It was the story.
Okay, thank you, True Crime Rocket Science, for that. I appreciate you putting that clip up on YouTube, and the link is in the description of this video. And so there's a couple interesting things that I want to talk about that she said. She said the story that won. So again, it's a battle, and she saw this as a battle of PR, which I agree with, Amanda. It was a battle of PR. And the story that won was not the most truthful story. So the truth never changes. And there's only one of it. But she's saying, so now she's kind of putting truth on a spectrum and saying it wasn't the most truthful. But I would argue the story that won, ultimately in America, most people who haven't looked at the case, is the story that one person, one African drifter, that's Rudy Gaudet, who's lived in Perugia since he was 5, but he lived in Milan for a little bit, guys. So now he's a drifter. If you've ever lived in 2 places in your life, I guess under Amanda Knox supporters' standards, we're all now drifters. And he was a foster child. So I think what she means by that is that he was troubled. He was very troubled, very, very troubled. And I'm not going to argue that Rudy Gaudet wasn't troubled. You have to be to take part in something like this. But they have to make him bigger criminal than what he was to make this story work and make him take over. But I just think it's very interesting that she still feels that people think that she took part in this, and she feels that story somehow won. If I'm understanding correctly what she's saying in that lecture, let me know what your interpretation of it is. But it's very interesting that she talks about Rudy Gaudet fleeing to Germany. And that's something Amanda herself wanted to do. And when we come back from the break, I will be talking about that. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay, so here we have her. This is an intercept with her Aunt Dolly. And you can hear in this that she's, she always makes it seem like I was always so helpful to the police. And I just really wanted to help. And I really wanted to find Meredith Kircher's murderer. But you can hear her attitude in this, where she desperately wants to leave Perugia. They also made a big deal of that, the friends of Amanda, that she stayed in Perugia and didn't flee. But she was told not to, and you can see why here. So I'm going to start in. Okay, I'm going to start in sort of halfway through. Little bit through the intercept, but she says, Amanda Knox says, yes, well, here, expect to hear what says the magistrate, but if they say I can't leave, they are crap. I didn't see anything, which is interesting because she was telling Meredith Kircher's friends, at least one of them, that she knew everything. What do you want to know? She said. I know everything, she told Sophie Purton. But now she doesn't know anything. She didn't see anything. So at times she sees everything, knows everything, but here when she wants to leave, she didn't see anything. Dolly says, that's her Aunt Dolly, you know what? In fact, if you come in, you said you wanted to go to Germany? Amanda Knox, yes. I said I wanted to come to Germany, and they are making me, quote, do not leave Italy. You can't leave Italy. Dolly, well, you know what? Because if you really want to interview you, if you really want to interview you, they can do so in Germany. Amanda, yes, but I don't know. Behold, they said that they should go back to Italy, but I don't know how things are. Dolly, well, maybe we should find first legal aid for you so you don't stay there forever. Amanda, yes, look to see what they say in 3 days. But if they say things like, yes, we don't know when you'll go, and stuff, but that she's saying a swear word there, but I'm going to say stuff like that, you tell me when I can leave, and if not is ridiculous, because I'm doing my best to help you, right? Again, she's helping the police, guys. Come on. Why are they so unappreciative? Including being 14 and a half hours per day while you do nothing but to stay sitting there without question me to waste my time. This has been translated, as you can see, and it's a little awkward. Dolly, yes. Amanda, and I don't get to eat, so no, I don't want to know anything. Interesting thing about psychopaths, they talk about food more than any other people. Dolly, no. I mean, it's something we don't have to load. Knox, Amanda, I know, and I'm not going to do it. I mean, of course. I mean, I want to collaborate as much as I can. I'm only 2 days. Today lasted much less, and I feel much better today. I mean, not out of my mind, I'm just faking it. But it is, how to put it, it's a bit frustrating because I'm very sorry, but we have to wait for the magistrate, and the magistrate will tell me something. Dolly, okay. And they said in 3 days? Amanda, yes. Dolly, okay, then let's wait until Tuesday, right? Amanda, yes. Let you know when I know something. Dolly, yes. But if they say again that I'm not able to tell you whether or not you can leave, so you tell them immediately that, okay? Then you need to get in touch with the U.S. Embassy to, Amanda, yes. Dolly, to get legal assistance. Amanda, yes, I get it. I will, because there is to be told. Yes, by the way, have to stay around for no reason, especially when they are homeless. To hell, not a chance. Dolly says, yes, yes. No, they can't do that. Amanda, yes. Dolly, and even if you go to Germany, because here they can also, I owe you, yes, it says I'm crap because they can tell the German police who must interrogate you on this and this one, and then they do it. Amanda, yes, it's BS. Dolly, because if you, Amanda, yes, Dolly, if you don't leave, the European nations, Amanda, yes, that's right. I'm always in Europe. They said that I should come back, but we'll see. The next time you call me asking, but I hope I can get a day off to rest. Isn't that interesting? She wants a day off to rest when the murderer of her good friend Meredith still hasn't been found. Dolly, yes, and if they're bothering you again, let me know and we will make sure to move the embassy. Amanda, yes. So that became a theme with how Amanda, you can hear in the intercept, she's telling her mom, I'm not allowed to speak to any of the other prisoners. She was really treated, especially they really watched her physical health and care, and she was treated like a high value prisoner. And I'm sure she liked that. So it's very much in contrast to the image that Amanda Knox created of this out of control Italian legal system and prison system that was so awful to her. She said the food was great. She sounded like she was enjoying the other people there. I mean, she really sounded in her element. So that is what I have for today. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be talking about psychic Amanda Knox and what she knew before everyone else. And I want to thank everybody who signed up for my Patreon. There's a really good episode I had a lot of fun making about Natalye Grace Barnett, the supposed 6-year-old dwarf that the Barnett family adopted, only to find out that she was a disturbed woman. It was a lot of fun to make, and it is in my Patreon with a lot of other exclusive content. So have a great day, everybody. I'll see you again back here sometime soon.